We have an hour and 18 minutes, so you've got plenty of time. They don't by any chance have that wonderful passage you quote at the end of the show, do they, up there, Baba?
There is grandeur in this view of life.
Yeah, I love that.
Amazing that people could write so coherently back without,
Yeah.
word processing. We take it for granted so much.
Yeah, no.
Imagine having to produce a manuscript of 500 pages this way.
Yeah, almost no crossings out. Don't look at the camera, I'm just getting you looking at Darwin. We can start whenever you two are ready.
He wasn't a very smiley guy, was he?
He was worried about bringing down the Church of England. But people didn't smile then for the camera, did they?
It's like, I'm about to piss a lot of people off. Oh well.
He would have understood rapping.
I don't think he would have partaken though. He was a bit of a recluse, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He wasn't really a very gregarious individual. He didn't go to parties. I think he really
Really?
was.
I feel like Darwin would party.
No, he stayed home. He was a homebody. What he did was he convinced people of his theory, and then he got them to go out and fight the fight for him. Huxley and Hooper.
That's right, yeah.
The Bulldogs.
How about sunglasses?
Faraday,
Darwin?
yeah.
Wait. Darwin takes the role of Baba?
All the fames go into his head. They don't fit.
Okay, Mary, you two can get started whenever you want. Sit down if you want to, Baba.
Well, let's, what do you think? 2 chairs? Definitely not 1 chair and 1 standing. 2 standing or 2 chairs? Probably 2 standing so that we're
All right.
in front of Darwin. All right, so looking at Mary or looking at the camera?
You look at Mary.
Okay. What's the best
you're
angle
you're
for your
blocking-
Darwin background?
You're blocking old Charles. Oh yeah, that's fine. I can go back and forth. Okay.
Do you want to start with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Mary Brennan interviewing BaBaBrinkman at the New York Science Academy. Baba, I would like to start off by complimenting you on such a fabulous show.
Thank you.
How long did it take for you to come up with this material?
Well, the devising process was about 6 months. It was a commission from a scientist in Britain, Mark Palin, at the University of Birmingham. He contacted me in September and said, 2008, and said, next February 12th is Charles Darwin's 200th birthday. Could you write me a show to perform on Darwin's birthday at a sort of science symposium that Dr. Palin was organizing? So I had those sort of 5.5 to 6 months to come up with the show. I didn't start writing it until about exactly 1 month before the first performance, because that's how long I needed to read my way through the material that would allow me to decide what I wanted to say about the theory. And then once January 12th kicked around, I was like, oh my god, I'm supposed to be on stage in a month and I haven't written anything yet. All right, time to get to work. So the actual composition process took about a month. And then, has been revised and rewritten and expanded. The first performance I did was about 45 minutes. Now it's an hour and a half. So it's accumulated extra pieces.
Did you hesitate to take the stage rapping about Darwin the way Darwin hesitated publishing The Origin of Species?
Well, I hesitated for 6 months by necessity, but giving me a hard deadline is a good way to coax some kind of statement out of me. And I had already been performing and rapping for over, about a decade, I guess, at that point. So one part of rapping is learning how to get on stage and say something with confidence and be a little bit humorous about it or be provocative. And I it didn't take long for me to realize that evolution is a great source of provocation, because you can say things about people that they may not believe about themselves, and yet you can say, it doesn't matter if you believe it, because it's proof. It's science, and science has the evidence that it's true. You know, I don't care if you think you came from a monkey or not, it's still true. And that's quite provocative to say to people.
Yes. The way you compare evolution to the rap generation is brilliant and hysterical. Did you receive any help when coming up with comparisons like peacock feathers or nature's bling?
I think the connections to rap were... Actually, no, I think there was probably a reference to bling in the Rough Guide to Evolution. That was Mark Palin's book. He wrote the Rough Guide to Evolution. So I think what I've just done is make it more explicit. For instance, I'm pretty sure the word bling comes up somewhere in the Rough Guide to Evolution as a humorous reference, but to really sort of show what that's like in the context of how bling is portrayed in hip-hop culture, rather than just glancing at the TV once and seeing some people with jewels on. You know, like, it's easy to make a glib reference about how bling is like a peacock's tail, but that's not necessarily a sympathetic portrayal. And what I'm trying to do is show actually that the bling serves a purpose to tell a story about the origins of the bling and what it means about the difference between the individual who has it and the individual who doesn't, and how it's a sort of signifier of talents that have to be genetic because they're innate. You know, this is what I've got to bring to the world, these skills and this intelligence. And, you know, so that's what the show tries to do, is flesh it out. I think quite a lot of the sort of humorous references to pop culture can be found in popular science books anyway. It's just mostly the show's reframing.
Right. Was it coincidental that you happened to be wearing a DNA t-shirt at your performance?
Oh, very much by design. It was an intelligently designed t-shirt. And the show, interestingly enough, doesn't talk about genetics very much. I more talk about the sort of macro level of evolution. The long view, the transformation of one species into another, and speciation, and the way that animal behavior can be understood as a performance of the genes. But I don't actually talk about the sort of mechanics of genetics or the biochemistry or microbiology level, which is really what's going on all the time. When you talk about evolution, you're talking about changes in gene frequency, but it's more interesting to me anyway, to observe it at the level of behavior and think about how that animal behavior would have contributed to the reproductive success of the ancestors of the animal, and then think about how that applies to us. You know, so the DNA strand being on the shirt is sort of like a constant telegraphing or reminder to people that that's really what I'm talking about. When I say this behavior is evolved, it's the genes. But I don't have to constantly remind people it's about the molecule, because the molecule is there floating right in front of them.
Would you care to tell us about what happened in Texas?
What happened in Texas? Possibly it's been blown out of proportion, but basically I was booked to perform at the Houston Community College, and early versions of my show, you guys noted that the opening piece I go, creationism is dead wrong, and come out and say it. What I used to do is I used to do a call and response, where I'd say, when I say creationism is, you say dead wrong, and then, you know, English people love this. When I do it in Britain, the whole crowd, dead wrong. But in Texas, it wasn't as popular. And you have to picture a room of about 120 college students in Houston, and probably like 8 of them said, dead wrong. And all the ones who didn't say it were like, what? And then they were like, never mind. And then there was a sort of tense moment there where I was like, okay, that's just me gauging my audience. It's going to be a long hour. And then performing the whole show. And about 15 people did walk out in the first 10 minutes of the show, I think because of the dead wrong thing. Like, forget this guy, you know. But then the people who stayed, even though some of them were evangelicals, came up to me afterwards. Some of them actually tried to proselytize me and convert me. But the one thing that I really remember is one guy saying, you know, I don't believe in none of that evolution stuff, you know, I'm creationist, but I thought that was real funny. Thank you for the show. You know, just really like an appreciative sort of, you know, even though we're not going to agree, I enjoy the experience. And that's really what I was going for. You know, I was trying to write a show that was entertaining for creationists as well, even if they feel a little baited by it, because it's impossible to not bait creationists when talking about the science of evolution. It really is impossible.
You bring up that you were at a community college. When you said old ladies toured you after the show because they now understand rap flow, It's really unfortunate that teens are unaware of your show because it's educational yet entertaining. Have you ever thought to bring the Rap Guide to Evolution to high school or college campuses?
Well, perhaps you're an exceptional teen in finding that marriage specifically interesting, or maybe there's many others. Actually, no, I have performed at lots of colleges and high schools. The show started out with the one performance at the Birmingham University Darwin Day thing. And then afterwards I took it to festivals. And I did it at the Fresno Rogue Festival, which is a public performance theater festival. And I did it at Edinburgh in Scotland and Adelaide in Australia. Whenever I'm performing at a festival, teachers come to the show. And after the show they say, my students would love this. And then I get booked to perform, sometimes during the festival or sometimes directly after. So through that performing at festivals and ending up getting invited to schools, I performed maybe 30 or 35 high schools and about as many colleges over the last couple of years. It's really popular with students, but I think the kind of people who are likely to buy a ticket and go see it are older generations, maybe because that's just who goes to theater. And it's unfortunate because I want to reach as wide an audience as possible, but lots of young people do come as well.
Has the show evolved from your performance in Canada to your show in New York?
It's been expanded, partially because an off-Broadway show is meant to be about 90 minutes, and the version I was performing before was about 70. So there was some opportunity to expand and add little bits. And the one example is the song "Don't Sleep with Mean People" was specifically written and added for the New York experience. And that was already a line in the show that was just a single line of one rap. And then enough people said, "Don't sleep with mean people" is a great idea as a concept, never mind the show. So I thought, okay, well, here's a possibility to expand. This is the whole way the show gets developed, right? Performance, feedback, revision. So the feedback was that element of the performance was the best part. Therefore, the "Don't Sleep with Mean People" meme in the show has now been expanded into a whole chromosome of its own, which is the song "Don't Sleep with Mean People" and the call-in response, which is now like the climax of the whole show.
Darwinism versus creationism. Did you mold your show into argument format in New York due to the mere fact that New Yorkers love to argue?
Definitely not. That was already part of the show. The whole creation versus evolution argument in the show, which is in the show, it's me arguing with my cousins. I have creationist cousins, and I sort of cut my teeth in the evolution debate at the family dinner tables, discussing it with them in a very friendly context. We all actually get along quite well, but we have different beliefs. And there's something about the family dynamic which makes you can't say screw you, and you can't say you're crazy. You have to say, okay,